Leo, thank you very much. Good evening from the newsroom. It's just gone 8 o'clock and we start with the latest developments in our top story of the day, that the Ukrainian president has now said that it's absolutely predictable that Vladimir Putin waited just 24 hours before linking Ukraine to last night's attack at a concert venue in Moscow. Volodymyr Zelensky's described Russia's apparent attempt to blame Ukraine as absolutely untenable and absurd, though neither Vladimir Putin nor the FSB have so far presented any proof of a link with Ukraine. The United States, meanwhile, has strongly condemned the attack, which we now know killed at least 143 people. US intelligence services believe it was carried out by a branch of the Islamic State terror group. Well, in a statement to the nation, President Putin said the terrorists can expect punishment and condemned what he called the barbaric attack.
All the executors, planners and those who ordered this crime will be rightfully and inevitably punished, whoever they are and whoever directed them. Let me repeat, we will identify and punish everyone who stood behind the terrorists who prepared this attack against Russia, against our people.
More news from the region tonight. Ukraine is working to restore power supplies after the biggest Russian attack on its power grid. This, for those watching on television, was the moment that Russian forces struck the country's largest dam. That attack killed at least 5 people and put Europe's biggest nuclear station at risk. It comes as more than 30,000 civilians have now been killed in Ukraine since Russia's invasion. President Zelensky is calling for urgent international assistance, saying that Russian terrorism is only possible because, he says, Ukraine lacks modern air defence systems. Royal news here in the UK, and Prince Harry has privately reached out to Prince William and the Princess of Wales following news of her cancer diagnosis. The Duchess of Sussex has also been in contact with the couple amid reports of feeling blindsided by the announcement. Meanwhile, cancer research have said that Kate's high-profile cancer diagnosis has led to a significant uptick in visits to their website and will lead to increased public awareness. It's after the future Queen revealed on Friday that she is undergoing preventative chemotherapy in this emotional video message.
It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who've taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment.
As expected, there has been an outpouring of public support across the country following that announcement. We've been speaking to people in Birmingham today who've shared their hope for Kate's privacy and an end to the recent speculation.
It's got shocking, really. She's got young kids, she's got a family. I think that's probably the more upsetting thing about everything. The public eye and things doesn't really matter at the minute, does it?
I think it was a brave decision, and I think that will just awaken people's minds to how troublesome cancer is, and to be checked out themselves.
Yeah, it's very shocking really, and obviously it's 1 in 2 people are getting cancer now, so I think we all should be a little bit more respectful and just let her get on with it, and to recover with her family and just lay off her a little bit. I think she had a lot of scrutiny over the last few weeks.
And some sad news today that we've heard that knife crime campaigner Richard Taylor has died at the age of 75 after his long-going battle with prostate cancer. His 10-year-old son Damilola was killed in 2000 in what became one of Britain's highest-profile crimes. Posting on social media, the Home Secretary James Cleverly has praised Mr Taylor's determination in the face of what he called the huge personal tragedy. That loss led Richard and his late wife Gloria to set up a trust aimed at supporting disadvantaged young people. He said his son's death was the result of enormous problems in society, but wanted his legacy to be one of hope. And a reminder on some news that came into us in the last couple of hours from Kent, that a boy aged just 12 has been arrested tonight after a teenage girl was stabbed in Sittingbourne. The incident happened shortly before 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Police are now urging anyone with information, including CCTV footage or video, to come forward. And in Cheltenham, police there are urgently searching for 3 missing siblings who are subject to a court order that prevents them from being in the care of their parents. 3-year-old Paulie, 5-year-old Jolene and 8-year-old Betsy were last seen with their mother on Friday, but their whereabouts is now unknown. The Gloucestershire Force say they are concerned for the children's welfare and they're asking anyone with any information to come forward and contact them immediately. And finally, Britain is in the midst of the longest sustained rise in people missing work due to sickness since the 1990s. Research from the Resolution Foundations found that nearly 2.7 million people are too sick to work, with figures highest among the youngest and the oldest of workers. The increase comes despite the overall labour market returning to normal following the pandemic, but it does mean that Britain is the only G7 economy not to have fully returned to pre-COVID levels of employment. Those are the headlines. I'll be back in the next hour. In the meantime, you can sign up to GB News Alerts. Just scan the QR code on your screen. Or if you're listening on radio, you can go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome to the Saturday Night Showdown. Now, the terror attack in Moscow by ISIS shows that Putin has dropped the ball regarding the threat of Islamism and can't keep his people safe. And Putin's response was to dismiss the threat of Islamism and instead blame far-right Nazis. Does it sound familiar? It's the same thing said by any left-wing politician in the West. Putin has gone woke. For all that some people on the dissident right say that Putin is the base defender of European Christendom, nothing could be further from the truth. He's imported men hand over fist from Muslim areas of the Middle East and Africa, and Moscow has been flooded with men from Muslim areas of the Russian Federation, Dagestan, Chechnya and Tajikistan. And it's reported that last night's attackers are Tajiks. Over 8,000 mosques have been built in Russia, and Muslims now number an estimated 14% of the population. Meanwhile, anti-Russian sentiment grows amongst Islamists because of Russia's support for Syria's barbarous leader, Assad. Russia has spent 10 years bombing Muslim civilians in Syria, although you won't hear any lefties or celebrities condemning it because for some reason they only care when Israel is involved. Russia also had a brutal war with Muslim Chechnya before making peace with its leader Kadyrov. But there are many in Chechnya who see Kadyrov as a traitor and want vengeance against Russia for the Chechen blood spilled. Sound familiar? Under Labour, Britain bombed Iraq, while our policy of open borders allows anyone from the Middle East to waltz in and claim asylum. But we've got 40,000 Islamists on terror watch lists in the UK, traffic barriers at high-profile targets and tight security at public events. We have put a lot of effort into stopping Islamic terror. I mean, it might make more sense to stop Islamic terror entering Britain, but at least we've got on top of it. Has Putin done the same? No. Instead, he's focused on Ukraine, insisting that far-right neo-Nazis present the biggest threat to Russia. He's like a Guardian columnist, ignoring the real threat while twisting himself in knots, trying to find a way to blame white nationalists. He's been caught napping. Western authorities even warned Putin that they'd uncovered evidence of an Islamist plot in Russia, and Putin dismissed this as Western propaganda. On March the 7th, America told Putin of reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow, to include concerts. However, Putin dismissed the warnings as provocative, saying, "All this resembles outright blackmail and the intention to intimidate and destabilise our society." Well, Putin, last night shows that it wasn't Western propaganda. And while we allow Islamist chants on the streets of London, our police respond reassuringly firmly when there's a serious violent threat. Compare that to Moscow, where armed Islamists could not only commit a massive atrocity, killing well over 100 people, and then leave at their leisure, making a run for the nearest border. Putin pretends to be a strong man, but instead of tackling the rising threat from Islamism, he put his head in the sand and ignores it like so many Western leaders do. Instead, he whips up hate against the far-right Nazis, invades Ukraine and kills Russia's brothers. The man is a clown. I'm joined tonight by TV personality and broadcaster, comedian Nicholas DeSanto. Susie Kennedy, also a comedian, and the lawyer and broadcaster Andrew Eborn. Now, Andrew, I mean, I know you've been following Russia.
I have.
Following what's going on there. I mean, do you think Putin is actually, for all the people on the distant right in the UK and in America say that Putin is some sort of, he's standing up against wokeism. Well, he's actually just as woke as leaders here.
It is extraordinary. And firstly, what a surprise it was. 87% of the vote. We should congratulate him on getting yet another term.
It was only 87%.
Only 87%. How dare the 13, the unlucky 13.
Over 100% easily.
I would have thought so. It is crazy, isn't it? Because they turned around on March the 7th, you pointed out, the US Embassy in Russia said there's an imminent threat from Islam. This is what's going to happen. Islamist extremists is what they were saying. And as soon as it came out, I was watching the news today, basically they're saying, it's all to do with Ukraine. Because it's Ramadan at the moment. There's no way they would be doing these atrocities. It is quite extraordinary. It's that broken record with that narrative. But this is what he wants to do. He wants to bolster the people against Ukraine, and so you're peddling that message.
Now, I've got to, before I go to the rest of my panel, I've got another monologue. I did 2 monologues this week.
Oh, look at you.
I did 2. So I've got to squeeze them both in.
Hey.
Anyway, should grown men be allowed to walk into female changing rooms and expose their genitals to children? To me, the answer is easy. No, of course not. And also, arrest that guy and check his hard drive. But this week, a woman walked into the female changing rooms at Planet Fitness, a gym in America, and saw a man half naked and shaving, and a 12-year-old girl in the corner looking terrified. The woman took a photo of the man. Here he is. She challenged the man, who, according to her, insisted he was allowed to be in the female changing rooms because he's queer. So the woman complained to the front desk at the gym, and instead of phoning the police, they said the man is in fact a transgender woman, and they banned the woman who reported him for breaching their code of inclusivity. And let's have a look at this transgender woman. Let's have a look at her now. Wow, so convincing. All the hallmarks of a genuine woman. The female pattern baldness, the classic feminine stance like Scarlett Johansson on the red carpet at the Oscars, the Prosecco belly, the penis. I mean, this would all be very amusing if it wasn't for the safety of women and children. There was a 12-year-old girl in that locker room, terrified, according to the witness. Now, you can call me a bigot if you like. You wouldn't be the first person, but I don't want my kids to be around some big, lumpy, deranged bloke running around with his tackle out and shaving his balls in the sink. They get quite enough of that at home, thank you very much. The gym's mission statement says that our mission is to enhance people's lives by providing a high-quality fitness experience in a welcoming, non-intimidating environment, which we call the judgment-free zone, where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel they belong. Now, I'm not denying that genuine trans people exist. This harms them too. Blair White, for example, she's put the effort in to look like a woman, but transgender women like Blair are getting lumped in with lumpy blokes who exploit inclusivity rules to get access to female spaces and demand that we perform mental gymnastics to identify them as women. Look, mate, it's your transition. Why am I having to do your transition in my head? At least meet me halfway. What sort of clown world are we living in when the feelings and fetishes of grown men are prioritised over the safety of children? What about children's right not to feel threatened or uncomfortable, to not be exposed to a dangerous situation? Why have society's rules been changed to put women and children last? Now, Susie Kennedy, you've joined us. You're a comedian. You're also a woman.
Oh, hey, look at you! How funny!
And I have noticed that I'm the only woman out of 3 men.
You say that.
You don't know how I identify.
Yes.
That's true. But you know what? This is the thing. It's like the be kind movement, right? Be kind to that man who thinks he's a woman, right? I do believe in being kind to people, but can you be kind to me? Because I actually want to get changed without you getting changed in front of me.
Yeah.
With respect.
Yeah, no, and I understand. I understand
and I don't want to be
that.
called a bigot.
And I think, I think if somebody was approaching the situation in good faith, like that man wouldn't be in the female changing rooms if he was being fair and if he was, because even if he does identify as whatever, he doesn't look like a woman. You know what I mean? Well, you can't just put a dress on a.
Well, the thing is that I definitely don't look like a woman in the gym. I don't know what I look like, but I don't look like me.
No, neither do I, actually.
Yeah,
it's funny how that happens.
Crap, and you want to be somewhere safe. And I don't know what's going on with that guy. I pray for him. I wish him the best.
Yeah.
Trans people do deserve rights, but women deserve safe spaces. The two can be true.
Yeah, and I mean, Nicholas, just quickly with you, do you think the sort of self-identification, the inclusivity, letting people identify as whatever, do you think it's just created this loophole that can be exploited by malevolent men?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't put it any better than you already did. But, in Iran, they have a proverb which says, injustice towards everybody is justice. Now, you don't have to agree with that, but up until now, men were unhappy and unsafe in gyms, in Western gyms, because we have this trend of women with very skimpy clothes going with cameras and then saying, oh, I'm wearing a bikini doing push-ups and everybody's looking at me. So I think it's only fair that now, after men stopped feeling safe in gyms and being accused of all sorts of...
So now women are going to start feeling unsafe. Anyway, coming up, we will assess the week's winners and losers in Cursed or Blessed, and we'll show you what happened when these people drove across bumpy ground a bit too quickly.
I'll tell you. When I see you again.
Britain's Newsroom. Weekday mornings from 9:30.
This is Louis Walsh, and if you're watching this year's series of Celebrity Big Brother, you will know what Louis Walsh has been talking about. It is the fact that he's been diagnosed, or he's had a battle with a rare blood cancer, and nobody knew anything about it. Joanna?
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of remember Louis, don't we, from X Factor, and he's a very much loved character. Louis always used to be the one that would kind of take all the kooky acts and all the quirky ones. Obviously, it's incredibly brave for him to actually share something so private about this diagnosis that he had. But also, when things like this happen with people who are public figures, it also brings a lot of awareness, and a lot of people have been watching Big Brother. We're obviously talking about it now, and this is the type of blood cancer that I'd never heard about.
I mean, it is incredible, isn't it, really, what it would do to raise awareness for people?
For sure, and I think it's really important because I think quite often people watch these programmes and it can be a little bit silly and arguments and stuff, but actually when someone that's got a lot of media attention like Louis Walsh talks about this, a lot of people start to think, cancer research do a lot of good work. I'm not shocked that he's doing that. He's a very Marmite figure, a lot of us have seen what Jedward have been saying about Louis Walsh behind the scenes. He's a very kind of, a lot of people say he's quite a nasty figure. He's been in the show business a long time. He knows how to get certain people to do certain things, and I think he's great for the programme though, because that's what we want, right? We want reality TV to be exactly how it is.
That's actually one thing that I thought in terms of casting for Celebrity Big Brother, they did a really good job getting Sharon and Louis in there. We're getting all the Hollywood gossip, who they like, who they don't like, and I think that's been great.
That was good,
Yeah. Is he a colourful character?
Colourful, yes.
That's how you.
But when you said he's like Marmite, you've got to think you can put a bit of Marmite in your bolognese and it tastes good.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my two comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. The Cursed or Blessed is coming up, but first I promised I would show you what happened when this car hit a bump.
I'll tell you. When I see you again.
I love that. I love the build quality.
Oh, fantastic.
The one made by build was
made by IKEA, wasn't it? They just didn't screw it in properly. I love it.
It looks like it's a bit of duct tape holding that on.
Hey,
and you need a bit more. Anyway, it's time now for Cursed or Blessed. Me and my brilliant panel will look at 3 big stories and decide who are the week's winners and who are the losers. The first one tonight sees Lee Anderson take on the fire brigade. Now, we're told over and over that this country is languishing under the yoke of institutional racism, that all our organisations discriminate against people of colour and unfairly elevate white people. Well, the Dorset and Wiltshire Fire Brigade boss, Rebecca Knox, claimed that her service is institutionally racist. This week, the no-nonsense Lee Anderson put some straightforward questions to her to see what she's basing this claim on. Let's take a look.
Chair, just a couple of quick questions, please, for Councillor Rebecca Knox. I think you was in agreement that your force was institutionally racist. Is that correct?
I agreed with the report, the independent report, and so did the Chief Fire Officer accept the findings of that report.
Could you please tell me, Councillor, what unfair advantages white people have in your force?
I would hope none. Not advantages. Did I hear you
do they have any advantages?
No.
So then how can you be institutionally racist?
Sorry, I might have to get back to you.
I mean, that's incredible. So she brings out a report saying, yes, this fire service, our fire brigade is definitely institutionally racist. When asked to justify, just to explain one little way in which it is institutionally racist, she can't even justify or mention one little thing. This is insane, isn't it, Susie?
Do you know what's funny about that? It reminds me, you know when you have an argument with your wife, right? And they go to you, and you go, oh, I'm sorry. And they go, but what are you sorry about? And you go, oh,
yeah. I just want you to not be mad at me anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, say one thing, and you're like, I'm sorry for that thing you just said. It's just really painful. I mean, it's coming from a good place, right? Racism's horrible, but when he's like, what is it? And she's like, can I get back to you? It just reminded me of that argument.
But that's, I mean, Nicholas, it's interesting that Susie says it's coming from a good place, because it ostensibly is coming from a good place to reduce racism and all that sort of stuff. But really, this worldview, this myth of institutional racism is used to justify horrific laws, diversity coordinators who control everybody's lives, hate crime laws that control our speech and are used to persecute political dissidents, and the diversity, equity and inclusion rules that are written into every organisation.
The heart might be in the right place, but the brain is not functioning. And as you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So when everything is racist, then nothing is racist. The same holds for, Nazi and Hitler. It has lost value because, as long as you love your country or you're for a bit less immigration, you're automatically a Nazi. But I was reading the report about this, and they have accused their own force of, having ingrained or entrenched levels of misogyny or racism in the personnel. And I don't know what they mean by ingrained or entrenched levels of misogyny. Do they believe that men are better at, carrying other men out of buildings engulfed in flames? Because in that case, I might, be misogynist as well.
Well, we can try it in the studio right now.
I think we can.
Andrew carry one of us and Susie carry the other one.
I think that's a good idea. I'll carry you, you carry Leo. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Any other day, I'd rather be carried by Susie, but not...
I understand. That's so sexist. You can't say that. It's outrageous.
By flames.
You make a brilliant point, though. It is devaluing the genuine racism. We're so quick to slap on labels, aren't we?
Where is this racism?
Well, I'll get back to you on that. I'm so sorry.
I'm always being told, oh, Britain's such a racist. This Kumar even said that
rubbish.
Invented racism, which is a complete nonsense. I'm sure there was tribal, conflict before Britain came.
You're absolutely right. It's the school of hard knocks. I felt she was obviously told to, as you say, tick the box, admit you're being a racist. Where's the evidence of that? Well, I don't know. I have to come back to you. I'll find some. We'll find a racist. I'll bring them here next time. Absolutely. Extraordinary.
So racist, somebody needs to let all those illegal immigrants or risking their lives to get here know about it. Maybe the boats will finally stop.
Yeah, so actually sending people to Rwanda will be for their own good, because Britain is such a horribly institutionally racist place. Anyway, next on Cursed or Blessed, we know that Islamist terror group Hamas are losing the war with Israel. You might think that this is because Israel's military are bigger, better armed and better organised, but this Islamic scholar knows the real reason behind Hamas's failure. Let's have a look.
But there's going to be sins in process. You'll be sitting next to a guy who's going to go and penetrate and sodomize another guy tonight. And you're going to...
So this guy, this Islamic scholar is saying that the reason that Hamas are losing is because they're allowing gays to march in the pro-Palestinian marches, which is, I've heard similar theories from like the Westboro Baptist Church and things like that. But this really seems... I mean, we've got Queers for Palestine. They march against Israel. But now we've sort of heard from...
Queers are usually straight blokes, though, with just nail varnish on.
Yeah, like that guy who's in the changing rooms at the gym. But yeah, it seems that the love that queers have for Palestine isn't entirely being...
QPR, the Queer Palestine Rebels. I love it. I thought, forget the football team. I think the reality is, just because you put the labels on it, it's complete nonsense. What it does is bringing out the abhorrent prejudice that there is on the other bits and pieces. And I think you're right. Hamas is a terrorist organisation. We've been so reluctant to call that out. And say you're losing it as a result of it is just nonsense.
Yeah, but do you think this will make Queers for Palestine maybe reevaluate who they're marching beside, given that, you know, if they were in Israel, they'd have equal rights and they'd be protected in law, and if they're in Palestine, they would possibly be...
Yeah, you think they'd think twice before, you know, declaring their love for Hamas or Palestine, or feminists for Palestine. But, you know, I'm not very hopeful. When I was young, I lost a lot of potential girls or girlfriends at university because I was in favor of the war in Iraq and in Afghanistan, right? And these other, you know, fellow university students...
Is it just that reason?
Pardon?
Was it just...
I was going to say, was that just the reason? You're trying to justify... My political views they didn't like. It's got nothing to do with, like, eating...
Blame it on them. Because
I want to know how that topic came up.
yes. Hello?
Just 5
Because it
pounds in,
happened...
you're like, you know what?
No, it happened. I started university right in the year Iraq was invaded.
Right.
And I was young and naive. I thought the Americans have done it for Germany, Italy, and Japan. They're going to do it for Afghanistan and Iraq as well.
Yeah,
and all these racists were like, no, you can't compare people of Iraq and Afghanistan with the noble Italians and Germans and Japanese. I was like, that's so racist. But, I mean, 20 years later, looking back, the racists turned out to be right. But that's another story. The point is, these people, and it was a stronghold of the left, Bologna in northern Italy, where I went to university, like the Goldsmith University of London.
I love the sausages.
So do I. But they hate these lefties and communists.
Yeah.
Hated the West and capitalism or imperialism, colonialism. They hated America so much that they were cheering for Saddam Hussein. And the same situation we have it today. They hate America or Israel so much that doesn't matter what Hamas does, and doesn't matter. They openly say, no, we are going to kill you, we hate you, you know. They still march for them because of that hatred and that self-hatred.
They love the West and they hate the West and they hate civilization.
So any enemy is a good enemy.
Incredible. Well, tonight's final, cursed or blessed, is the story that's been enraging people all week. Nike's new England football shirt. Nike have decided to mess with the England's national flag. Let's take a look. This is what they will have on their shirts as they take on Brazil. The Brazilian players will probably think they're the wrong country's turned up. Some people have criticised this, but I genuinely can't think of a better way for the England team to show that this country has been taken over by non-binary genderqueer communists who hate us. Anyway, some people say that the fuss is ridiculous. I mean, I don't know why those people don't post a picture of the Prophet Muhammad on their shirt and see if it's irrational to get angry when images are posted, Susie.
I think this reminds me of a Del Boy episode where they've ordered the wrong shirt. And they've been, right, what are we going to do about this? We'll just say we did it for inclusivity. Brilliant. And they've just, like, got all these people buying it. It's just... if this is the biggest problem in the world, we're really in trouble.
It is great, but this is why I wore the revised version of the thing. You've got the blue, the red, and the white. You made that make sense.
You get a tie going this way.
I can do it. I can go whichever way. It's got to be good. But the reality is, this is the flag, so you can't mess with it. You can't work on that sort of basis. You can't suddenly say, well, it looks a bit prettier that way, but put a bit of blue in. Yeah. It's the English flag. It's a flag. You work on that basis. It'd be nice if a little bit of gold speckle or something. It's just rubbish, isn't it? Absolute rubbish.
It's got a Pride Progress flag that you can add chevrons, whoever's being represented this week. I genuinely think they've added a Palestinian chevron to the Pride Progress flag. You couldn't make it up.
Well, it was already sad that for English people, the only occasion where they were politically allowed to wave the national flag and not be called racist is during football tournaments. Yeah. You know, that was already the situation, as you all know. Not even on election days, because the Labour MP would photograph that and tweet it and say, oh, look at these racist people in England having the audacity to put England flags on their windows. But now they're taking that flag away. Yeah. And in normal times, it wouldn't have been maybe as big a deal because these designers and manufacturers have to constantly tinker with the with the shirt, with the kit, to justify, among other things, that exorbitant, ludicrous price.
£90. I mean, what's it made out of? Like Shergar's fur?
So you could have said, OK, maybe they made a faux pas, they shouldn't have tinkered with the flag. But of course, Nike is no ordinary company, and they are, you know, the uber woke corporate.
The great news is we've got Harvey Elliott, the Liverpool star. He played with his collar turned up so nobody could see that's him from the front, I think. Have we got a picture of him with his collar turned up? I don't know if we do. But he played with his collar turned up so nobody could see the flag for the entire match, which it might have given him, you know, mild dermatitis on his neck. So, you know, he's really suffering for it.
Nike should charge more for the England flag.
Exactly.
Oh, there you go, the proper one. The proper one.
You pay up. Anyway, next.
That's the market.
I think they should put the Scottish flag in there. Why not?
Hey.
Next on the Saturday Night Showdown, Multiculture Corner. 2 religious festivals collide with Ramadan and Easter. But could halal Easter eggs bring everyone together? You won't want to miss this. Plus, I'll show you what happened when a little kit plane tries to take off on a rather short runway.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We saw a very unsettled day on Saturday with lots of showers around, but things look quieter for Sunday, drier, brighter, with lighter winds too. Low pressure is anchored towards the northeast. That brought the very blustery northwesterly airstream. Lots of showers on Saturday. A little ridge of high pressure though moving in from the west, and that does promise to quieten things down as we go into Sunday. Still quite a few showers to contend with as we go through the first part of the night, but they will tend to become more focused towards the north and northwest during the early hours of Sunday, and with clearer spells developing elsewhere, the winds just starting to ease down a touch. We could see a touch of frost in some rural spots. Town and city temperatures holding up at 4 to 6 degrees, locally down closer to freezing though in rural areas. As we go into Sunday then, I say a much quieter day on the whole, lighter winds, more in the way of sunshine around. Still 1 or 2 showers, mainly up towards the north and northwest, still wintry over the hilltops in Scotland, and notice there's rain just gathering out towards the far west by the very end of the day. In the sunshine and with lighter winds, it should feel fairly pleasant. Temperatures peaking at 13 Celsius in the southeast, that's 55 in Fahrenheit. And as for the start of the new working week then, things will turn very wet out towards the west, quite blustery winds developing once again. Whereas out towards the north and east, we hold on to some bright weather at times, and temperatures not doing too badly still, certainly down towards the southeast, peaking again at around about 11 or 12 degrees. But things will generally turn more unsettled during the week ahead, so rain at times, and temperatures close to the seasonal average.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio, and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Big news, big debates, big opinion. Patrick Christie's Tonight is the week's biggest show. Every weekday, 9 to 11 p.m, we've got the inside track on the day's top stories. There'll be sharp takes you won't get anywhere else. We will set the news agenda, not just follow it, and I want to bring you along for the ride. Whatever it is, we'll have our finger on the pulse. It's news, but it's this close to entertainment. Patrick Christie's Tonight, 9 to 11 p.m, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. Coming up, we have Culture Corner. But first, I promised I would show you what happened when a plane tried to take off from a short runway. Now, I'm not an expert on air travel, but I think that was a bad place to build some sort of sand.
I think you're probably right, Hill. I think it was the same place where they had the car, wasn't it, earlier? There's a pattern in tonight's programme. I think you'll work on airplanes and automobiles.
Vehicles just need to stay away from that particular field.
A train coming up later. It's got to be good. Work on that premise. Good, oh, what a thrill.
Now, your lunch break at work should be a time when you can relax for a moment and enjoy some well-deserved scran. But one man had to pack his lunch away after being berated by a Muslim co-worker for eating during Ramadan, which is obviously a fast. The man was also called kuffar, a racist insult. Let's take a look at the video.
Look at this kuffar. Everybody's on Ramadan.
I know, I actually feel bad for eating.
And this guy's stuffing his face. This guy he just sat here stuffing his face.
Man, I feel bad for that guy. It's like, I mean, he just wants to eat his lunch. He's, you know, it's not his fault it's Ramadan. He's, like, been perfectly accommodating. But you know for a fact that if he actually spoke back and said, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to eat my spaghetti bolognese, and why don't you shove,
spaghetti, you know...
what? Spaghetti bolognese.
I thought you said something else.
No, well, that's what I said. I don't know, we spoke about Bologna a moment ago. But yeah, if he told the guy to shove it, he would be in jail right now for a hate crime.
Yeah, obviously. And he is, and forgive me for saying something hate crimey, but he is in his ancestral homeland. Can we say that nowadays? Maybe not in Scotland from 1st of April. But I'm slightly suspicious of that video because I hear the word Ramadan pronounced Ramadan with the final M, and also it says kuffar. Kuffar is plural. I don't want to be too pedantic.
Oh, right. So you're correcting the grammar.
Oh, I love it. I love your phrase, I don't want to be too hate-crimey. I think, what's that about? No, you're right. And if it turned around the other way, you also have to work out somebody's deliberately filming this. So you work on that sort of basis. Why are they filming it? Why are they filming this particular moment? Other than put the pressure on the guy who was already a bit apologetic. I'm saying I feel a bit guilty about eating my pork and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah, and most people want to avoid conflict. So
exactly.
You know, somebody comes in and says, listen, it's Ramadan, why are you eating your lunch?
Absolutely. And it's rather like drinking around an alcoholic or something. You turn around and say, they're on fasting at the moment, we can go somewhere else. But the fact that they're filming it, talk about fake or fact, the fact that they're not getting the words right, the fact they're a bit, whatever you said, racy, or working on that sort of basis, I think you're right, hate crimey. I love that. That'll be the new hashtag going around.
Ramadan, by the way, fasting is all about, you know, giving up daily and mundane pleasures so that you can meditate and do righteous things as opposed to going around and harassing your fellow colleagues.
Yeah, I feel like that guy was kind of trying to Ramadan our throats a bit.
I think you see what you do.
Thank you, Susie.
That's a good one.
Thank you. I mean, you're a Christian.
I am, and do you know what? I like, you know, I'm a bit different on this because, one, I'm not so sure about this video because he was kind of bantering him. He was kind of like going, oh, look at you stuffing your face. A bit of something like stuffing your face when I'm on a diet.
Yeah.
So I think he was just having a laugh with the guy. And also, like, if someone's on a diet or an alcoholic, you don't eat or drink in front of them.
I do.
So, yeah.
Of course I do.
I know.
I'm going to starve myself just because you're on a diet? No way.
But I don't know. I don't know.
I'm going to eat my chips. Anyway, this week we've also seen a backlash at King's Cross Station due to the station displaying what many see as an inappropriate religious message on the board. There for everyone to see when they just want to know how late their train is going to be. Let's take a look at this image. There it is. It's an Islamic hadith. And I mean, I think the only sort of religious message that needs to be broadcast up on the board at King's Cross is Jesus praying for a train to be on time. I don't know. I mean,
or any other deity for that matter, as long as the train is on time.
Yeah. Jesus, Allah, Buddha, please just let me get home from work. But this again seems that we're sort of bending over backwards and making accommodations for one particular religion when, you know, I'm pretty sure they won't be putting Buddhist messages up or.
Well, people have to be so careful that they're even talking about these sort of things because people get so outraged about it. And I think the reality is there was a lovely message, but there are other lovely messages from other religions. And you either go down that route and say, OK, we're going to do Christianity today, and tomorrow you'll have a Buddhist message, and we'll have something from the Quran, whatever it is, and then you work on that sort of basis and people feel great about it. It's the reaction about it, and you've got to work out why are they doing it, because people are going to get offended, they're going to talk about it on shows like this, and the trouble is it could then spark offence. And what we don't want to do is on that sort of basis, can have a backlash against what might be a positive message.
I don't think it's a positive message. message. I think, we should have a secular state that doesn't broadcast religious messages and doesn't pick and choose particular religions to broadcast. I mean, I don't want to look up and see a sign from the Scientologists or the Moonies.
Christmas special. Don't celebrate. Don't celebrate religions. Kind of a Christmas special.
I feel like Christianity is different because that's this country is or was a Christian country. That's our foundations. That's our basis for our values and everything. Yeah. And all our laws and our institutions.
We're all suddenly really Christian. Do you know what I mean? Like they said, Christianity is dead in this country, and suddenly everyone's like, I'm a Christian.
Well, the thing is, I'm not Christian as in regular church attendance and stuff like that. Well, mostly because I think if you were a Christian, you probably wouldn't go to the Church of England. You know what I mean? It's like it's not Christian anymore. But I mean, I do still subscribe to the sort of Judeo-Christian values that this country was based on. The ideas of individual freedoms, individual rights.
Mm. But I remember having dry cleaners and I left my ring in and the guy said to me, I found your ring, this is for you. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know I'd lost it. And he went, I'm a Muslim, so I believe in not stealing. And I was like, lovely. I think a little bit of jealousy is coming from the Christian community at the moment. It's because the Muslims keep their faith. They're doing their fasting, they're proud of their scripture, whereas we have forgotten our scripture, we've forgotten fasting for Lent or giving up things, and now we're like, look at them, they're horrible, we're Christians. You're like, then act like them.
Well, I don't think they're saying they're horrible, but you make a great point about Christianity is kind of like lost its
whose fault is that? Who's in charge of Christianity in this country?
Exactly.
Church of England.
The Muslims.
The wokest, least Christian guy in the world.
As churches in England become emptier and emptier, and we were just talking about the flag, which is on the English flag, has been desecrated.
Yes.
Right? In parallel, we have more and more spaces occupied by Islam or Islamic teachings, being it whether it is the Palestinian flag on our lamppost, our monuments, our statues coming down, monuments desecrated, and now this.
The good news is, speaking of religious festivals, it's Easter, the most important time in the calendar for Christians. It commemorates the time Jesus came to earth as a bunny rabbit and laid an egg made of chocolate or something. I'm not a details guy. But supermarket chain Asda have decided this year to focus their marketing attentions on promoting the sizable market for halal eggs. Halal eggs for a Christian festival? Are they also going to bring out a range of bacon for Ramadan? I'm joking. I actually think that this is great. This is how we break down barriers between people. Everyone likes chocolate. Let's have a look at the picture of the egg. So these are halal certified eggs ready for this year's celebrations. I mean, I think this is great. I think everybody can agree.
I'm not sure about it.
It's totally good. I'll tell you what, there are 80 to 90 million eggs are consumed in the UK. I can guarantee there are not 80 to 90 million Christians. I think you don't. They don't check you when you go to the store.
Some of us eat more than one.
That's true. 8.8 eggs for the children, apparently. That's the statistics.
Oh my God! No wonder everybody's a beast. But Nicholas, you said you don't think this is a great one.
Everybody who wants to participate, they are welcome to participate. But the woke left, as you very well know, are all about the opposing cultural appropriation. And these are Easter eggs. In this incident, they have been rebranded as celebration eggs, which is nothing. Which is just something made up.
So they're not calling them Easter eggs anymore.
Exactly.
But
it's
we
just
know
like Happy Holidays.
We know what they really are.
Happy Holidays as opposed to Merry
egg.
Christmas. Of course. But it starts. It's all in the name,
Yeah.
It's all in the name, as the Romans said in the ancient times. It starts with Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas, and then celebration eggs instead of Easter eggs. Easter is when our Lord and Savior rose up from the dead.
And he didn't eat an Easter egg.
Did he not eat?
So we don't need to panic, people.
What's the egg thing?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying.
It's about
Easter eggs. Our Easter eggs, they've been Islamified. Easter eggs are nothing to do with Jesus.
I think they are something to do with Jesus.
No, it's about rebirth. It's about rebirth. It's a symbol of rebirth.
It's about rebirth.
The more worrying statistic, however, is that the Easter bunnies, which were brought over from Germany because they were hares, a bit too scary, they became bunnies later. Majority of the people bite the ears off, and that's not a very Christian thing to do.
I eat them bum first.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. So there you go. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, we'll be discussing why Jeremy Vine wants to take a leaf out of China's book and shut down Twitter. Plus, I'll show you what happened when Madonna spotted some people in the crowd who weren't standing up.
Take this ride with me. What are you doing sitting down over there?
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday. Now, reports suggest that Boris Johnson could make a general election comeback for the Tories, with the former Prime Minister expected to campaign for the Conservatives in red wall seats, although not stand in one himself.
Yes, he wants to take the fight to Keir Starmer. So, GB News East Midlands reporter Will Hollis has been in Bassetlaw asking locals whether they want to see Boris make a comeback.
I actually used to like Boris Johnson, but he let me down with COVID, and so therefore I won't be voting Conservative anymore. I did do, but not anymore.
Not for me and anybody else here, because from day one he's been a liar all along. Don't vote for him. Stick with Labour.
I like Boris Johnson, to be honest with you, and I think it could do with a boost for Conservatives. I've always been a Labour voter myself, but no, I went to Conservative.
Personally, not for me, no. He's not done anything to make any arrangements to make this town better.
When he was in charge of the Conservative Party, all he thought about was the upper class, not the working class, because he was telling everybody to stay at home during COVID, and what did he do? He had an house party.
Well, there you go, the views of the people of Bassetlaw. Not so keen
He was
overall.
telling people to stay at home. There's no suggestion he didn't stay at home.
Well, no. But I guess there's mixed reviews on whether Boris Johnson's to make a comeback. I guess the idea is that he'll appeal to red wall voters far more than Rishi Sunak. So if they can use him up there, then maybe he'll help them out. And I think they want to get David Cameron to campaign in the blue wall, in the Shires, because he goes down well there.
Allies of Boris Johnson have been pouring cold water on this report, of course. Nadine Dorries tweeting earlier today that Rishi and Boris actually haven't spoken in the last year.
I think the most exciting bit for me is talking to people.
People who I think are ignored often by the major news channels. We're going to give news they want to hear. There's a voice there that needs to be heard. I think there's a chance here for a diversity of opinion to be expressed, which you don't find elsewhere. It's really exciting.
We don't hold back. We're free to say how decisions that are taken here
affect us all around the country. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive? Incompetent?
That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. We'll get into Hollywood's flat earthers and Jeremy Vine's Twitter shutdown rant in a moment, but coming up, I first promised I would show you what happened when Madonna spotted some people in the crowd who weren't standing up. And oh boy, does this get awkward.
Take this ride with me. What are you doing sitting down over there? What are you doing sitting down? Oh, okay. Politically incorrect. Sorry about that. I'm glad you're here.
So she made the classic rock star mistake of demanding that someone in a wheelchair get on their feet. It's happened to Def Leppard. It's happened to lots of other bands. You point to the that particular spot in the crowd and ask, why aren't you on your feet cheering this song? But I mean, I guess we can all put our foot in it at some point.
I'm not that famous yet to expect a constant standing ovation.
No.
So I'm still safe.
All right. Well, this week, anti-white Archdeacon Miranda Threlfall-Holmes has said, let's have anti-whiteness and let's smash the patriarchy. That's not anti-white or anti-men, it's anti-oppression. Let's take a look at this tweet. Here she is. I went to a conference on whiteness last autumn. It was very good, very interesting, and made me realise whiteness is to race as patriarchy is to gender. So yes, let's have anti-whiteness and let's smash the patriarchy. That's not anti-white or anti-men, it's anti-oppression. I mean, that sounds like it's anti-white to me. I mean, she's literally saying we need to abolish whiteness, and this is after one training session. This is after one conference. I think even the Nazis needed more indoctrination than that.
I like the idea that next year we're going to have the equivalent of a Barbie movie, where you get rid of the patriarchy, whatever the white one would be.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what, but it works on that basis. You're right, and this is the trouble. You're sort of demonising all sorts of things in the same way as the brilliant Lee Anderson interrogation, where you say, well, give us an example of where there's an advantage, and there isn't any evidence of that.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If you're going to go on a seminar which teaches you that this is the premise, that you're going to go away with that premise, aren't you?
Yeah, unless you question the seminar and say, wait a minute, isn't this a load of nonsense that no taxpayers' money should be spent on? Anyway, moving on to Conspiracy Corner, actress Millie Bobby Brown has this week admitted that the Earth is round after previously expressing the belief that the Earth was flat. Although, to be honest, she doesn't sound that convinced. Let's have a look.
Millie, when you were 14 years old, you said on a TikTok live that you thought the Earth was flat.
Unfortunately, yes, I did.
Do you still believe this?
No.
She goes on to say that she's never seen the curvature of the Earth. I mean, yeah, you can't really see that from down on the ground. I guess stranger things have happened. Do you get it? Because she was in...
Yeah. Oh, very good. I thought you were going to do the old one about Flat Earth Society with members all around the globe. I thought, tick in the old box, click for that one. No, I love it. And this is what happens. You can turn around. There are a lot of people who still believe it.
Yeah.
And that's the extraordinary thing.
Because it does look quite flat close up.
It does. I mean, here, this is flat.
Seeing any curvature. But yeah, I mean...
I was a bit mad, though. They said, when you were 14, you said... When I was 14, I said I was going to marry New Kids on the Block.
Yeah, so there you go.
I thought it was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Right, if you're going to hold people to... Like, you said this when you were 14, like in a court of law. I said a lot of stuff when I was 14. Some of it I wish I still believed, but...
Well, yeah, and conspiracy theories are a bit of fun for most people. We've seen recently that a lot of conspiracy theories have actually turned out to be credible. Yeah. Whether it's the Hunter Biden laptop scandal, which turned out to be true, the COVID lab leak theory, which turned out to be probable, or Epstein Island, which turned out to be a lot of fun for Stephen Hawking. But this week, Jeremy Vine suggested that we should take a page out of China's book and shut down Twitter because of conspiracy theories. Let's take a look.
And it's no accident that we're seeing out in Windsor at the weekend. They wanted that to happen because that's their way of saying she's getting better. She's out and about. Yeah. But the conspiracy theorists won't even have that. That's not her.
But I mean, Jenny, is there any argument to say this will sound crazy, but China does it? We've got to now take control of Twitter and shut it down for the time being.
I mean, Susie even says China does it as if, it must be a good idea then. I mean, maybe we should do other things that China does.
I'm just shocked. Anyone could say shut down opinion.
Yeah.
Like, that actually makes me scared. Do you know what? I love people to have their opinion, and I can love to disagree with it.
Yeah, and that's what Twitter's all about. That's what a free marketplace...
Even Joe Biden has a Twitter account, even though it's banned in certain places and people can't have devices. So I think you work on that sort of basis. Don't shut down for freedom of speech.
Taliban and Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah...
They all have it.
But let's not forget... Nobody would watch him. Nobody would watch... legacy media in 10 years' time if they keep this trend, and that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Right, up next, it's Mark Dolan tonight. What have you got for this evening, Mark?
Well, Leo, lots to get through. I have my answer to Nike. If you're listening on the radio, then let me tell you, I am holding up the Union flag. Woohoo! Because whilst GBNews
is... That's the St. George Cross.
Well, that's exactly... Oh, that's exactly right. Blimey. I'll have alienated a few people with that. There you go. We're going to talk about woke madness in the country. Plus, my Mark Meets guest is remembering the Great Escape, one of the great feats of the Second World War. Plus the papers, plus my pundits. Big opinion, take it 10, loads to get through.
Sounds brilliant, Mark. I'm going to be tuning in. Can't wait. And Nicholas, I mean, just before we go, we've seen that Nike are charging 90 quid for this strip. Do you think that we should go back to Umbro? That was a classic British manufacturer that made it cheaper, and it had the actual right flag in it.
Yeah, and the fans and the general population, actually it's more than 90 quid. I think 165 euros I saw, which is definitely more than 100
charging euros
quid.
For the English strip?
No, but the picture I saw, well, that would be even worse. But no, it's definitely more than 90 quid.
Yeah.
The kids version is 60 quid and upwards. But yeah, I think as long as you don't breach the rules of a free market and free competition,
Yeah.
It is a good thing to
go to Umbro.
Look favourably
Brilliant.
at British.
Well, thanks to my brilliant panel tonight, comedians Nicholas DeSanto, Susie Kennedy and Andrew Eborn. See you again next week. And don't forget, Headliners is on as well tonight at 11 p.m. 3 comedians going through the news. Goodbye. See you next week.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, here's your latest weather update from the Met Office for GB News. We saw a very unsettled day on Saturday with lots of showers around, but things look quieter for Sunday, drier, brighter, with lighter winds too. Low pressure is anchored towards the northeast. That brought the very blustery northwesterly airstream. Lots of showers on Saturday. A little ridge of high pressure though moving in from the west, and that does promise to quieten things down as we go into Sunday. Still quite a few showers to contend with as we go through the first